Hey there, it is Rachel, and I know that among the many stressors you're experiencing right now, one of them is that your kids may not be listening to you. You may ask them to clean up after themselves or be nicer to their brother or sister or spend more time outside, and they're simply not listening to you. And I know this can be really frustrating because sometimes it means that you're having to do more if they're not cleaning up after themselves, or it just means that you feel disrespected and worried about the fact that they're not listening to you and what your influence and authority is like over them. So I want to talk a little bit about getting kids to listen to you, and I want to tell you that many of us have taught our kids that they don't have to listen to us, and we're very unaware that this is happening, which is why I want to bring it to your attention. Here's the thing, that through your behavior and whether you are following through with what you say you're going to do, through that behavior, you are teaching your kids they either have to listen to you, or if you're not actively following through, what you're teaching them is that they don't have to listen to you. So let me give you an example. Let's say you ask your child to clean up after themselves, maybe put their dishes away. And then after you ask them to put their dishes away, you walk away. You have not taught them that you mean what you say. If you ask them to do something and you walk away, they are not actually wired necessarily to be mature and responsible and do what you ask. The kids that are going to do what parents ask are the kids of parents who have followed through and shown their kids that they mean what they say. So you may have to rebuild your influence over your kids by starting with something simple like when you ask them to put their dishes away, you show them that you mean what you say by staying there and waiting until they do what you ask them to do. Kids are wired to be impulsive and self-centered. This is actually developmentally normal. The part of the brain that allows us to be less self-centered and less impulsive does not fully develop until the mid-20s. So if we want our kids to do what they have to do, we have to follow through and show them that we mean what we say. And I want you to hear this. If you're not actively showing your kids that you mean what you say by following through and following up, then what you're teaching them is that you don't mean what you say. For example, this used to happen more when we were out in public, but I used to see this all the time where parents would say to their kids, if you don't behave differently, we're going to leave. So maybe they were at a friend's house, their child wasn't behaving well, and they said, we're gonna leave. But guess what? Then the parents didn't leave because they didn't feel like leaving because they were still talking to their friends. And what that tells a child is that parent doesn't mean what they say. So following through and following up is really important. Now, I realize you are busy and you are stressed. So in this week's podcast episode, which is episode number 41, I talk about how to follow through in a much easier way if you are someone who's overwhelmed and exhausted right now, which most of us are. So I will give you some tips, but what I will say for now, if you want to know why your kids aren't listening, do what I call an enforcement audit, where you simply write down maybe 4 or 5 rules that you have and ask yourself, am I showing my kids with these rules that I mean what I say? Am I following through? Am I giving them the tools to be successful? Am I focusing on this? Or am I just asking them to do something and then walking away because I'm so busy? You're teaching your kids whether they have to listen to you by showing them you mean what you say, or that they don't have to listen to you, because what they're learning is that you don't really mean what you say. Now, again, listen to the podcast episode for even more tips, but for right now, just do that audit and ask yourself, am I really showing my kids that I mean what I say? So go ahead and listen to episode 41 of your Parenting Long Game for how to follow through even when you're exhausted. And you may also join the free Facebook group, which is called Your Parenting Long Game Podcast Community, where I share other tips and give you support for how you can get the long-term results you want with less effort these days when no one really has the energy for more effort. All right, I look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care.